Welcome to the Good Place Marionville Podcast, dedicated to highlighting the good in Marionville, Missouri.
Today's episode will continue our commitment to showcase the goodness in Marionville, uniting our community through shared stories of hope and optimism. So let's cover some of the good this week. I just want to highlight one more time the Missouri Good Neighbor Week, which was signed into law just a couple of years ago. So this is a pretty new thing. And I'll put the link in the notes, but it's MissouriGoodNeighborWeek.com. And it's the week right after Apple Fest. And it's really a time to just encourage people to actually be good neighbors, have potlucks, have get-togethers, have whatever, and just enjoy being a good neighbor.
Hey, did you vote today? Did you vote? The polls are open until 7 o'clock. It is primary elections today. Did you vote? You got one of these neat stickers? We know Doris voted. I was there to vouch for her. She didn't get a sticker, though, but she didn't get a sticker.
But your vote counts.
Vote for your candidates. Vote early, vote often. That's what Ben Franklin said.
Oh, that's bad. All right. I just want to remind you, if you have registered for the Marionville First Baptist Church and the Care to Learn Back to School event, it is on August 14th. And just what a great community event, giving back to the people, helping everyone get the resources they need to start the school year off right.
Yeah, the health department will be there. They'll be doing immunizations, vision screenings, mental health screenings. There'll be the Smile Centers there, the library there, the fire department will be there. And our new mascot will be there for the fire department. Ooh. Girls and Boy Scouts. And you'll be able to shop the Comet Closet, hygiene bags, all kinds of great stuff. August 14th from 6 to 7:30 at Marionville First Baptist Church. The Marionville Comet's cheerleading team Carwash fundraiser coming up this weekend already?
That is on the 10th.
On the 10th at 10 a.m. at Aurora Baptist Temple parking lot in Aurora. Talented cheerleaders from the 3rd and 4th grade and 5th and 6th grade teams will be on hand to wash your car and show off their school spirit. All proceeds go towards uniforms, equipment, and travel expenses for the upcoming cheer season. Bring your cars, trucks, SUVs, and donations. Bring your cash because donations
That's
are
the
welcome.
Big part.
Thanks to Michael Stump for sharing this good news.
Yeah. So, Jim, you just said one thing for first responders, that there is a new mascot.
That's right.
We hadn't even talked about that yet. That's pretty great. And I just wanted to highlight some good news that this week, the fire department is learning how to use the jaws of life, getting some special training on that powerful tool that can make all the difference on a scene of an accident. I just want to say thank you to all the volunteers that make up the Marionville Fire Department. And they also want to remind everybody, stay hydrated while the heat is so high. A lot of people end up with medical problems based on the fact that they're not drinking enough water.
And remember, we're looking for volunteers for the volunteer fire department. That this city has had a volunteer fire department since its inception 170 years ago.
Yes.
We'd love to have you join us. Hey, big news. Pendleton service station just south of us on Central Street closed its doors last Saturday, August 3rd. Ronnie says it's time to retire, take it easy, and do nothing. We know that's not going to be possible. Though he admits that Susie, his wife, will probably keep him busy, and we know we're going to see him around. His son, Darren, has worked side by side with him for nearly the last 20 years. Both have many fond memories of their years in the business. Now, Ronnie's father originally opened the DX station along Highway 60 in 1946 and later moved his business to the current location on Central Street. Ronnie took over the business in 1968. Friday morning, people gathered around the station to present Ronnie with a certificate of appreciation and a cake. Ronnie, his smile, his willingness to help everyone, and his expertise in vehicle repair will be greatly missed. We wish you all the best. And the business has been sold to Jeromy Steven from Elsey. And so we'll look forward to meeting Jeromy and maybe get him on a future Good Place Marionville podcast. Thanks to Kathy Urschel for your it's hard for me to say, your Facebook post and letting us all know about this incredible celebratory event.
Yes. And I was talking to Doris ahead of time and saying, I heard you wrote a poem. She said she recited a poem to him, but I was so glad that you were there. That's great. So I just want to give a shout out to the Marionville Sonic. We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Marionville Comets.
No, the Sonic Drive-in.
Yes,
okay. This restaurant.
Okay, got it.
They came here a couple weeks ago and competed in a knowledge bowl. They've been for months working on what they call the Sonic Dr. Pepper games, and they have officially gone to the next level. So it's kind of like Sonic Olympics, and they've been tested over their speed, friendliness, customer satisfaction, health, and the health and food safety, mystery shops, and training against 3,500 other Sonics. They are now in the top 12 in the country, and a group of them will be headed to Las Vegas later sometime in September to compete for the gold medal. So way to go. Like, we should be super proud of our local Sonic.
We are.
And they promised me that the sign has been on order for months. And so, yes, they know they don't have a sign. It is supposed to be coming.
Yeah, big shout out to the Bank of Billings for being just a fantastic bank right here in our great town, a great community bank, and a sponsor of the Good Place Marionville podcast. We're so grateful for their partnership. Technology, it's changing all the time. You know, you got to buy a new phone every 4 years because they get outdated. That's why the Bank of Billings is working hard to update their offerings with better online banking, mobile banking, and updated ATMs and ITMs. Do you know what an ITM is? Stop by the Bank of Billings. They'll tell you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
So another business news right here at Central Place, we actually have an office for rent. So if you or someone that you know can choose where they want to work and they don't want to work at their kitchen table or they don't want to make a commute to some faraway place, just let them know that we have an office for rent right here at Central Place. You can send us a message on Facebook or just email me at goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com.
This Thursday is our monthly Marionville Business Connect meeting right here at Central Place at 4 to 5 p.m. This month's meeting, sponsored by Smart Insurance. Come out and hear a little bit more of their story and how Randy started working there when he was like 2 years old or something like that. And encourage everybody that's we want to encourage everybody that's involved in doing business in Marionville to become a part of Marionville Business Connect. There's no dues to pay. You get free food and you get to meet other business leaders, business people, business owners doing business here in Marionville so we can create a lot more synergy together. You know, we are thrilled to have an iconic Doris, did you know you were iconic? We have an iconic guest with us today, Doris Rapp, former mayor of Marionville and a lifetime resident right here on the Good Place Marionville podcast.
You know, Doris, welcome. And I know that you probably think that most of our subscribers know you really well, but I just want you to pretend for a few minutes that you're talking to people that have never met you. So they're getting an opportunity to see behind the curtain, learn a little bit more about the woman Doris Rapp. So with that, she crosses her arms.
Hang on, people.
How long have you lived in Marionville?
Well, I told Jim since my birth, but I happen to be 88 years old, and I'm proud of it. The Lord has blessed me with good health. I take no medicine whatsoever, take my vitamins each day, try to exercise. I stay busy working in I call them weed patches, but it's flower beds.
Yeah.
But anyway, and that's
it is good to be proud of that.
Good.
We're
so you
amazed.
said your mom and dad moved here into the house that you're living, not in the house that you're living in now, but the one that's in your front yard, right?
right.
Okay.
Right.
So tell us about your family.
My family, I married Jack Rapp, who is the father of my three sons. You remember the TV show, My Three Sons?
Make a name of a great television show. Yeah.
And so we have three sons. They all live right around here. And a fellow said to me at church one day, he said, Doris, with your husband and three sons, you pretty well get everything you want, right? And I said, pretty well. So anyway, they take care of me very well. They're a very loving family. And, you know, I fix Sunday lunch for them every Sunday after church.
Yeah. That lunch always includes a homemade Doris Rapp pie. And I have actually gotten a piece of that pie, but you're famous for your pies, Doris.
I know. Well,
I know I am.
Are you going to enter one in the Apple Fest this year? Do you ever enter your pies?
No, I never entered one at Apple Fest. When we had the tea room downtown, I sold whole pies.
Oh, wow.
To people, you know, if they wanted a pie. And of course, I was in trouble one day at Apple Fest whenever a lady took a piece of my coconut cream over to the festivities going on, and in the next 20 minutes, probably 50 people were at the door wanting a slice of pie, and I didn't have that much pie.
Your pies are famous, that's for sure, and you as well. All right, you've seen a lot of changes over the years here in Marionville. 88 years of changes, and your parents were here before you were even born. Take a little walk down memory lane with some of us who have not seen all of these changes. What are some of the highlights of the things you've seen? Great things happening right here in Marionville.
In the city, I remember when the school band played on the square on a Saturday evening, all the families gathered around the soda shop was open at the local drugstore, and children just ran around and played as usual and probably got into trouble a few times. But it was a get-together for the hometown people. That was before Apple Fest was ever started. Growing up as a child, we lived a very different life than today. I remember my dad planted 100 potatoes for his family each year to make sure we had enough food to eat. There were 5 of us children. So it was a completely different lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That sounds like a lot of fun, though. And I am sure you're not the only one that has those great memories of kids running around town and music playing down on that very famous square.
But what about the heydays of Marionville? I mean, not the ones in the 1870s, but in the 1950s and 60s, where everybody said that Marionville was thriving. What was it like then?
Well, they had, like I said, most places that you would need to shop from, grocery stores. They had a clothing store. They had a cleaners. They had lots of things, and you didn't have to go to Walmart for things that you needed. They had a shoe store. You could get it right here, the drugstore. And so it was just a different day. And I remember that the, Trailways bus came by the local hamburger shop, and you could get a ticket on the Trailways bus to anywhere you wanted to go.
So where you're sitting right now, what was it back in the 50s and 60s?
What was it?
What was here? I mean, we know the library was 79 to 06, but what was it before 79?
Do you remember?
It was a bank, but the bank burnt where your parking lot is.
Okay.
And this was I think it was a grocery store at that time. The dime store was across the street. Cleaners was just down the street. Darby's Dry Good was there, and they had any kind of clothing, fabric, and things that you would need to sew and all like that. And like I said, you didn't have to go to Walmart to get your daily supplies.
Yeah.
Wow. And we love looking at the book and the history that's been put together, and that's helped us a lot to get to know Marionville really well. But it's so fun to hear it live when we're having these conversations. So you have worn a lot of hats. Some probably very informal hats. People didn't even know what you were doing, and more formal roles like mayor. You've done all of that for our little town. Can you tell us a little more of your professional and the volunteer roles that you've held over the years?
Well, my professional, I guess, mainly consisted of, I was secretary at the First Baptist Church 18 years. I worked at the Marionville Shoe Factory before that, and another menial job, but most of it was spent at the church. And I enjoyed that very much. And then I taught a Sunday school class for several years at the First Baptist Church, sometimes alone, and right now I'm co-teaching. And then the women used to go out on Saturday morning for breakfast, and they kept saying, "Doris, why don't you put together a book on Marionville history?" I would flippantly say, "I'll take that under advisement." Well, as time went on, I realized, that I could do that. So I decided that I would put together a book on Marionville's history. So I have written a book on Marionville history, and it's been a lot of fun. And I bet that you folks don't know what the Comets were before they were the Comet.
No,
we do not.
What were they?
The spark plugs.
The spark plugs.
And the women were the Sparkettes.
Oh, my word. That's
Ooh.
awesome.
I have some 1924 newspapers that were given to me, and it tells about the spark plugs and the Sparkettes and their wins and losses during that time period. And I happen to know the lady. They had a contest, and I believe it was in 1924, to rename them. And Grace Kennedy, who was married to a guy by the name of Fisher, and she lived in Springfield and was a nurse for one of the obstetricians, and she won the contest of the name Comets.
Okay, so here, this is kind of fun. I'm asking you this live right on here, not knowing. Was Kennedy then a pharmacy here locally? Because I
Yes.
think I found a bottle
I have a bottle, I think, that says Canada on
Kennedy
it.
Pharmacy,
Yes.
Marionville, Missouri, that we found in our
Yes.
yard
Yes.
in like a junk pile. So, oh my word, that's
If you could
And I
crank it
have
up.
a copy of, I think it's an old 1894 front page, and all the businesses that were in town, most of them had an article on the front page of what they did and things that they did, So,
Mhm.
yes, it was a thriving community. At one time, Marionville had a bigger population than Aurora,
So did you serve on the board of aldermen and as mayor or just as mayor?
just as mayor.
And how many years was that?
Oh, about 10 probably come and go, because when some of the other mayors didn't make it or they quit or whatever, then I happened to be mayor pro tem, so I would take over as mayor. So I was first elected mayor in 2004 and I retired in 2018. But I started out as a board of aldermen in 1996 when a friend said, Doris, why don't you run for alderman? And he was going to run for mayor, which was Willis Herndon. We did, and we both got elected.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so,
In your role as mayor, the most famous thing you did was pardon a rooster.
right,
But what do you consider one of the greatest accomplishments you did as mayor?
would you call that an accomplishment?
No, I said that's what
was
you're most
famous.
famous for. But
Most
what do you
famous.
what do you consider one of your greatest accomplishments as mayor?
Well, I just think that trying to promote Marionville and doing things that Marionville needed at the time, which I feel like I was instrumental in getting the stoplight on the highway, because for years we didn't have one. We always had accidents there, and just working for the betterment of the city, the new sewer. I was the mayor whenever that was dedicated and all like that. And I think paving what streets we could pave and just maintaining, but probably the pardoning of the rooster made more news.
It definitely made it very famous. So
That's the way the ridiculous always works, Doris.
I love that. So tell everybody what you've been focusing your time on recently.
Like painting my fence?
No, like the cemetery.
Oh, my.
I mean, I just happen to know
But if
that's
you need
one of
help
the
painting
things.
your fence, I'm sure you can get people to help you.
There you go.
Well, I have painted about 300 feet of pipe fence this last 2 weeks
Oh, my
with my
word.
great-granddaughter helping me, and we've got about that much to go.
Wow.
But anyway, the city alderman took over the Marionville Cemetery in 2020 because the board that was serving, they couldn't get board members. Some of them didn't want to serve, and they couldn't get new ones, and they came to the city and said, Marionville will always have a city council. There will always be a functioning board of aldermen and all, so they wanted the city to take it over. I was the mayor at the time, and I said, I think it's something we need to do. And that if we did that, and Bud Allhands, that had worked with the cemetery for years, he would lay out the graves and do things. If Bud will stay, I'll volunteer. So since 2020, I've been volunteering at the cemetery. I believe it's a calling that God wanted me to do. I believe that every day that's just my ministry to do. So until I'm one of the residents, I'm going to continue.
So
That's awesome. But you've been doing a lot of restoration there. I just talk about that just real quickly, because a lot of people, unless they've seen it on Facebook or they're there in person, they don't realize what improvements have been happening there at the cemetery.
Oh, this last fall, Bud and I, we both had a passion to see they called it the old, which I think was kind of redundant. So I've renamed it the early founders and settlers section of the cemetery. And we started restoring that. I admit the first 2 stones that Bud and I did by ourselves was totally incorrect. But we didn't know what we were doing. But then we hired a company. They came in and they did around 75 stones. And then we continued to go over and dig out stones that are under the ground. You have
Sure.
to find them. And we continued to do that. We have set several of them upright. Those that could not be put upright, we have laid a foundation footing and put it on there as much as possible where it could be read and their, relatives could find them. And so it's just been a real ministry to me.
So
That's huge.
The person that was born the farthest time ago that's buried in our cemetery. So, like, is there anybody buried in the cemetery that was born in the 1700s?
I think probably 1843 something is like what is, and I think it was a Gamble. The Gambles were part of the early settlers here.
Got it.
After James Marion Moore founded the town.
Right.
I remember when I went to school, we didn't know why it was Marionville.
Yeah, but we do. But if you've read Doris's book, you know that it was the guy's middle name.
The research has been done.
That's right. Doris, as you look at the next 10 years of Marionville, what are you hoping to see?
I would like to see our downtown restored to where we had businesses to function and where the residents would partake of them and help support them through their patronage and all like that, and whatever means to restore some of our historic homes and just have a cohesive little well-planned community and see people work together to make it that the whole community would be interested in restoring Marionville. We have a lot to be proud of here. The people came for the spring water because it also is the land of 7 springs, and we still have an abundance of that. And we have a beautiful park. We have a new park planned and lots of things, but we really need to focus, I think, restoring our downtown, gaining new businesses and industry to support our people and just to move forward in the 21st century.
And there's a big vote this Thursday night at the Alderman meeting. Contact all of your aldermen and tell them to vote yes on developing the Economic Development Committee so we can help be purposeful on how we help grow both residential, commercial, and industrial here in this great town. Martha.
So, Doris, in this day and age, a lot of people don't have it on their bandwidth or on their radar to focus on giving to their community in the way that you have. You've modeled it. You're still doing it. What is something that you would say to the citizens of Marionville in the context of spending their time and their energy and giving back to this town?
I say just get involved. I remember that Sarah Herndon and I was one of the first committees, and we had a bicentennial committee. And there was the bicentennial singers. They practiced at Marionville, a local girl, Gail Smart, and I believe they went to Ukraine or some foreign country. I don't remember exactly what it was, and then we had Harvey Phillips, the world's greatest tubist. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He was on the Doc Severinsen, and so he was from Marionville, and he went to the Juilliard School of Music.
Wow.
And he, as I said, was on the Doc Severinsen show, and the Army band from Fort Leonard came down. And then just whenever anything come along, I volunteered for it, and I got over being bashful.
Anybody that knows Doris doesn't think Bashville and Doris go together, but pie. Have I mentioned that Doris makes incredible pie? Doris, not final, but for today's show, any last words to our listeners?
Oh, I think that rather than complain, see what you can do to help. That's what's going to help Marionville be restored to be a community that people would want to come to maybe have a business, to participate in our businesses, and maybe we would have more attractions than just white squirrels.
Yeah, but we do like our white squirrels.
We do like our white squirrels.
It's time to wrap up today's episode of the Good Place Marionville podcast. And as you can tell, this is a great platform for you to highlight your local business while sharing and showing your support of the good happening here in this great town. Consider becoming a sponsor. Contact us at goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com. goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com. There are many different sponsorship levels you could choose from.
And I just want to thank each and every one of you for contributing good news to this week's episode. It's easy to report. Just send an email to goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com or call the number I'll have in the show notes.
Thanks for joining us for the Good Place Marionville podcast. Keep your eyes out open. Wow. Keep your eyes out for the good. Keep them open for the good that's happening right here in Marionville. And together we can celebrate this great town that's 170 years old. We call it Marionville.
It's older than me.
Yes, it is.